Good morning, Facebook friends and YouTube followers. This is Rich again, back for your first video blog of the day for Wednesday, July 30th, 2014, around 7:45 in Billerica, Massachusetts. It's going to be another nice and sunny day after we break these clouds, low humidity, and that's what we like it around here this time of year. We don't need the hot and humid weather, and this is perfect summertime weather. Some news to report. The Boston Red Sox lost again to the Toronto Blue Jays, and John Lester's been scratched from tonight's lineup for pitching. He's gone, folks. He's gone. He's not coming back. He's going to get traded to a team, I think. And the Red Sox could rebuild the team for 2015, and 70 more days, 10 more weeks until the NHL season starts, which we're very happy. I'm very happy to have the NHL season start, especially around here this year, where like the Red Sox are having a bad year. It's just, we need something to look forward to, New England sports fans, okay? And my first subject of the day is about the Major League Baseball Game of the Week, the NBC years from 1966 through 1989. NBC, back in the 40s, 50s, and 60s, would always carry the World Series, and also maybe select, and the All-Star Game, and maybe select regular season games through like the 40s, 50s, and 60s. But by 1965, Major League Baseball sold its first true national Game of the Week package to ABC, but ABC got very low ratings, and like they lost big time money, so Major League Baseball officials signed a deal with NBC for a Game of the Week. It was a 4-year contract worth about roughly around $5 million, which was very low back then because you didn't get too much advertisement revenue back then, and also it was only basically three networks, ABC, NBC, and CBS. And so with like Major League Baseball having a good relationship with NBC, with they carrying the All-Star Game and the World Series, it was a perfect marriage. The first Major League Baseball Game of the Week on NBC happened on April 16th, 1966, and the lead announcers were Kirk Gowdy and Pee Wee Reese. The backup announcers were like Jim Simpson and Tony Kubek. The home markets of the primary game, the A game, were blacked out they could not see the game at all for the home market, so they had to see the backup game, because especially they wanted to protect the home markets of the teams. Plus, this was non-exclusive, so some of those markets, they could have their local broadcast, their local station could carry the game, a local broadcast. And for example, if New York and the New York Yankees were playing the Boston Red Sox, for the A game, viewers in New York and Boston and like second enjoying seeing like Providence, Rhode Island, or Hartford, Connecticut could not see the game. They would have to see the backup game, and they just want to protect this. This lasted into 1983. But like the NBC Game of the Week got real big ratings, and when World Series came around, Kirk Gowdy would do the play-by-play, and they would have the local announcers of the teams in the World Series. Say if it was the Dodgers and Yankees, they would have like Vince Scully and Mel Allen with like Kirk Gowdy and stuff. Like Gowdy would do a couple of innings play-by-play, and then the local announcers will do this. And it got real popular. In 1967, pitcher Sandy Koufax, who retired from Major League Baseball due to elbow injury, an arthritic elbow injury, signed with NBC, and was put on the main game with Game of the Week with Kirk Gowdy and Pee Wee Reese. I think at one time I heard something that Kirk Gowdy really wanted Ted Williams, legendary Red Sox outfielder, to be his color man on the Game of the Week for NBC, but I heard something with that Ted Williams had a sponsorship with like Sears, and the main sponsor, Chrysler, did not want Ted Williams on it because Sears at the time had like a sponsorship with Ford, and they did not want competing him as the announcer. That got Kirk Gowdy a little bit mad. But anyway, like for like the next 2 years, Kirk Gowdy, Pee Wee Reese, and Sandy Koufax were like the A team for like the Major League Baseball game of the week, while Jim Simpson and Tony Kubek were the B team. In 1968, at the end of the 1968 season, Pee Wee Reese was dropped, and they moved Tony Kubek to the A team for color analysis, and they dropped Sandy Koufax to the B team. And this is also in 1969. The league expanded, Major League Baseball expanded to 24 teams, and NBC got the League Championship Series as well. And it was like Kirk Gowdy and Tony Kubek will call one championship series, and Jim Simpson and Sandy Koufax will call the other one. And they did it for several years. By 1971, NBC decided to have a World Series game at night. And they had the first World Series game at night, Game 3 of the 1971 World Series between the Pirates and the Orioles. And 63 million viewers saw the game. That's amazing. And the Major League Baseball officials saw that, and then they decided to expand on NBC's Game of the Week package to have Monday Night Baseball for about 15 weeks for the beginning of 1972 with four seasons. Kirk Gowdy, Tony Kubek would be joined by a guest analyst who could be an old baseball player or a celebrity or another figure join them. And the same rules applied. The home markets did not see the game. They had to see the backup game called by Jim Simpson and Sandy Koufax, who left NBC in 1973. And like always, the backup game, they always somehow had the Houston Astros get on there because it was in a dome. But by 1975, Joe Gazziola became the new play-by-play announcer for Game of the Week because NBC really wanted to drop like Kirk Gowdy, because he was kind of, every time he was on the A game, he was kind of favoritism the Boston Red Sox a lot. So he was dropped from the package, and like he and Tony Kubek teamed up, and also Jim Simpson was kind of getting phased out as a backup play-by-play announcer. And they had a lot of backup play-by-play announcers like Charlie Jones, Monty Moore, Dick Enberg, even Marv Albert did some backup Game of the Weeks. 1976, NBC lost Monday Night Baseball package and half of the postseason and the All-Star game to ABC. They would alternate. Like 1 year, NBC would get the World Series, and ABC would get the All-Star Game and League Championship Series, and it would be vice versa for the next several years. And NBC dropped like local announcers on calling the World Series after the 1976 season, but their ratings continued to stay the same for several years. And like the broadcast teams with Joe Gazziola and Tony Kubek would stay, and they had like so many B announcers continue to be a rotating basis. By 1982, NBC was going to name like Dick Enberg the lead play-by-play announcer of the Major League Baseball Game of the Week package, and Joe Gazziola was going to be an analyst, and they were going to drop Tony Kubek to the B team. But NBC signed Vin Scully, LA Dodgers announcer, and like they decided to drop Dick Enberg as the play-by-play announcer and offer the baseball package. So in 1983, it was Vin Scully and Joe Gazziola doing the A game, and Bob Costas, a rising star on NBC Sports and a big baseball fan who he owns a Mickey Mantle card he keeps in his wallet, and Tony Kubek would be the B announcing team. When Major League Baseball signed a new 6-year contract for NBC and ABC to continue baseball, it rose to over $1 billion, and part of the agreement, the local blackout was lifted, so everything was exclusive, that NBC could now show the game of the week in home markets, which was pretty good. And NBC's ratings continue to grow and stuff like that. And sometimes it would have occasional double headers during the game of the week, which was pretty good. And they would always have promos, and they also had a pregame show hosted by Marv Albert, Inside and MLB, an inside look, which was pretty good. Marv Albert would host it from the New York studios, and NBC continued to do the great job with the game of the week and the playoffs and the All-Star Game and the World Series. But by 1988, the ratings were kind of sagging for NBC. There was talk about them dropping Major League Baseball at the end of the contract, and they were trying to negotiate a new television contract. At the end of the 1988 World Series, Joe Gazziola left NBC because in the middle of the contract, and in December of 1988, CBS Sports got the Major League Baseball Game of the Week and all of the postseason and the All-Star Game for $1.4 billion, and part of the deal was that they just cared about the All-Star Game and the postseason and just scattered the Game of the Week to maybe 12 to 16 a year, and it just got a lot of people shocked. 1989 was a lame duck year for NBC's Baseball's Game of the Week, and like, it was kind of sad to see NBC lose the Game of the Week because it was an institution, and it was NBC and Major League Baseball were a perfect marriage for 24 years. Bob Costas said in a quote, he said that he wishes that MLB could have had CBS partnership with like part of the postseason and the All-Star Game, and they could have kept Game of the Week, and they could have alternated the World Series and postseason and the All-Star Game. But Bob Costas said MLB cared for cash mostly, and that was about it. And it was sad on September 30th, 1989, the last Major League Baseball Game of the Week between the Orioles and the Blue Jays. It was very sad to see NBC no longer carrying a Major League Baseball Game of the Week. 24 years, they had a long run. I think it's very. I thought that was very great that they had a long time partnership and marriage. That's probably the most famous, like, NBC Sports and Major League Baseball were synonymous. I think that was one of the most signature sports packages they ever had, was NBC, besides the Olympics and stuff like that. It was real good. It's too bad that NBC could not keep the Major League Baseball Game of the Week into the 90s and beyond. I think they would have done a great job, and eventually Bob Costas would have probably been the lead announcer in due time. But, you know, I like it, and it's part of baseball history. We'll be back later on to tell you more about stuff and blogs about this and that. Have a good day, Facebook friends and YouTube followers.